time of my life. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
just because you might be up in that old position, that don't necessarily mean that you got to be looked upon like a person with a blue collar or anything like that. You can still be a person for the people, or a person that's looked at like how you would be if you was in the hood with your homies. You know what I'm saying? Just be, you still gotta be a product of your community and your environment. You gotta give back. You gotta, like I'm doing now. You can't just you can't go out there venture out like how people leave in Jackson and stuff. They won't come back and open up like they had business and stuff like y'all was saying.
Yeah. To leave and to not care and to just abandon and to not notice what's happening and to not speak out on what's happening and not to give back. I think no, 100%. I think you're hitting a good point there.
Yeah.
I mean, you just unpacked a lot there for those of us that are supposed to oversee our children. For those of us with children in your same age range, that unpacked a lot because sometimes we don't look at it from the perspective of what the youth are going through before we make a judgment on what choice they made. And it's okay to advise young people, right, that are 20 years younger than you. You've lived 2 additional decades, and folks should be advising you with experience, right? A lot of times I tell my children one of the main reasons I can tell you what not to do is because I did it and it didn't go well. So I'm pretty sure that taking any other step than this is probably going to take you in a better direction. But that experience takes you out. But when you have folks that don't try to understand what a young person is looking at, then it's very hard to give them advice. And it's very hard for them to respect you. Especially when you talk about folks leaving Jackson, there's a young lady, you see me looking at her online TikTok name is Natalie's Take. And we're going to talk about folks that leave Jackson. Some stand up and some stand down.
Well, it make sense, Cody, on here.
Yes, I'd like to know what do you mean by they would let him move somewhere? What does that mean?
So I appreciate that question, my sister. So basically, the young man from Jackson, he was about maybe 16 or 17. I think he had just turned 17. No credit issues, and at that time, no felony charges. So technically, he could have lived any way he wanted to. In his mindset, and we know, and I'll explain it quickly why, he did not think he had the ability to apply for a room in an apartment in Madison, Mississippi, or Ridgeland. When I asked him, why do you think that?
If he got money, he can move anywhere.
Yes, ma'am. That's the mental prison that he was set up in. That no fault of his is that at 17 you can only act on what you've been exposed to. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah. So the reason is that those police, Madison is one of, if not the only city that has an automatic license reader when you go into the city, if they still have that. Which means that it's a guarantee that once that car goes in there, you can be profiled, stopped, and you can be searched. So what you do is they set up a perimeter, and you all know the perimeter I'm talking about. If you come out of Jackson into Ridgeland and your son, I've got 3 sons, all teenagers or in their 20s. So let's speak from experience. When your son heads out, you're looking at that Light 360 and hoping he stays in Jackson. Now at Capitol, even that hope isn't too safe. But they set up a perimeter, Ridgeland, Flowood, Pearl, Madison. So if our youth go anywhere in those areas, now you listen, even if my son's license is 100% legitimate, star student, goes to school, does everything he's supposed to do. I won't say star student, good student, does everything he's supposed to do. But he knows that if he goes into Richmond, he risks getting pulled over and over and over again. So that in itself keeps him he's a good student. It keeps him from going outside of Jackson. So when you go down to our youth who may not have all of the registration and things that keep them safe from arrest, now they're taught through policing, you don't belong out there.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I hear you. I just didn't know what that meant.
No, I appreciate you asking, and I hope I went slow enough because I promise you I'm trying to slow it down, my sister, but I hope that made sense.
It makes sense to me. A lot of things.
And that's what matters. Y'all are my audience, so that makes a lot of sense. But we appreciate you for listening. Thank you much.
All right.
Last one, but no, she took me to the left. That's just that's something that I'm always willing to talk about our youth, and the way that these
being privileged a certain way, I'll let you forget that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Being privileged a certain way will let you forget that you have our youth that are being put in prisons, and the prisons are not always physical. By the time you see the damage done to them, they've done something you consider horrific, and now you move in with judgment. But you don't realize that they literally are locked into a understanding that I do not belong in these areas where opportunities exist. And as adults, we don't like to swallow that because it just points to areas of our weakness and where we need to do better. But the reality is that they don't talk to you about that, about South Jackson and West Jackson, about the youth and the names that they call them and the out of control. They don't tell you about that part, do they? They don't tell you about what their vision of choice is. Now that choice may look a little better to you now, right? Now when I go and get a switch instead of going to rent a room in Ridgeland, even though I could do both, now you may understand as an adult, and you should have understood that already. Shame on you, but we can grow together. Shame on me through my life. I've had that moment, right? Those moments. But now you may understand why a 16-year-old who does not think he can make it in another city because of the color of his skin and what he's assumed to be doing chooses to go ahead and just shoot back. Now, to you say, oh, they're so silly. Why don't they just move and get a job somewhere, go somewhere? Yeah, but you've been taught how to use all of these resources. You've been taught that and you assume these children do. So instead of you taking your Saturday to just do a little workshop at one of the local community centers on how to get a job, how to emancipate yourself if you're not receiving any support from home, how to take the next steps to be okay, you sit there and have plenty to say on Facebook when those children do something. It's because there's no mothers in the house. The community just shut down. It used to be a village. You the village up there talking on Facebook. Talking about it used to be a village raised the children. And the village is on Facebook typing. But nowhere to be seen when the children need them.
They're ready to speak about it, but when it's time to do something about it, you know what I'm saying, they nowhere to be found. That's what I don't like about it. I mean, a lot of people don't like that because what's up with you only having half of the say the courage to say, you got the courage to say something, but you ain't got the courage to go do something.
That's right.
So what do you fall at, and how are you when you be on? Who was judging you? What was going on when you
Who helped you?
Who helped you?
That's the question.
That's the question.
They forget that fast. Who helped them?
That's right. That's right. They literally, some of them will look down at you and have the nerve to tell you, if you just work hard like I worked hard, and then you listen to them during Black History Month, they give thanks to everyone that helped them along the way and be like, goodness gracious, you had a wonderful support team. If it wasn't for that teacher, if it wasn't for that guidance counselor, if it wasn't for that person that paid for my tuition fees, if it wasn't for, well, these are all people that helped you. You got a lot of kids sitting in the corners of the United States, Black children, that there is no if. They just get abuse upon abuse upon abuse. And then guess what happens when that abuse ends? Here come the charges because now you're an adult. So now we can make money off you, especially in Mississippi. Especially in Mississippi. So you go through all that abuse of a young person. As soon as you hit 16 or 15 or 14, they can't wait to call you an adult. So now we can go ahead and make some money off you. The biggest prostitution scheme in the world, and our children are being pimped. And the sad thing is that you got adults, instead of calling out the pimps, you got adults that are sitting there in lieu of the fact that your weak tail has done nothing to stop it. You got the nerve to then speak up about it, sitting in there with the oppressors in the chats, typing right along with them. I know. Now, I would give you all a shout out. Hines County, all through Mississippi. I saw how you all abandoned some of the racist platforms that folks had jumped on and just started sitting on while y'all let these folks just insult our children over and over again, call them all type of rocket scientists and pretend to have care and love for them. I love to see the way folks abandoned that and jumped onto some real platforms, which there are plenty of. We are not the only one. But jumped onto a platform where they respect you. And you watch that drain and people's intentions come clear, just their utter racism. But these children are being treated like money, dollar bills, capital. What can we make of? Our own mayor has just encouraged businesses to hire our 14-year-olds. Make that make sense. As schools shut down, as Grant Callen, the voucher guru, who's also a ruling elder at a Redeemer Church, who sits with Candace Robbins, who sat on the Mississippi Charter Authorization Board. You see this whole circle swirling? And then guess who bought Chastain, the only school that had a parent program for people in the city? Guess who bought that? A church, Redeemer Church. You couldn't help those children, watch them in a dilapidated roof, watch all those problems, and you had no help for them, no alms for the poor. As soon as you saw that deal was cheap, get it on the low, get it to the high. You move right in. I call it like I see it, and let the papers prove me wrong. Because the newspaper articles ran just like I'm telling you they ran. Grant Callen hitting every way he could hit to push that vouchers, right? He's the darling of Super Talk Mississippi, of any far right wing. He's their darling. These are facts. A darling means I continuously pull you on my platform to let you speak to my people. I'll explain it just in case people want to say I'm just talking. He's their darling. And then an African-American woman from one of the black schools then goes and sits on the Mississippi Charter Authorization Board, doesn't say much for all the meetings that I've watched, doesn't have much input at all to speak up for the charter schools that black folks are being a part of, our children are going to, and then all of a sudden, Chastain shuts down, and it's supposed to be repurposed. Y'all remember that? Dr. Green, call in if you want to jump in on this. 601-948-5950. We're going to repurpose these closed schools. After the former Mayor Antar reached out to now Mayor Horn and said, can you help me? And what was the handler response? Man, them schools are gone. I asked that question at Dooling Hall. I love when I'm not kidding. It was me. Go look at the news report. I said when then Mayor Lumumba asked you, I'm sorry, when you were then senator, and Mayor Lumumba asked you for help keeping those schools open or stopping the government takeover, did you not tell them that ship has sailed? A very common recurring theme for our mayor. And that's the definition of a handler. One thing walks right into another. And y'all help me with this, but a handler is somebody that plays the middleman. A handler is somebody that sits there like Gibbs did in the middle of that water hearing and says, I don't like this takeover, but I didn't vote against it. This is when you're being handled. When folks you put in position to represent you and what you want. And Jackson clearly did not want that water authority takeover. Then step forward and then tell, they've softened the blow for the white supremacy that's trying to shut Jackson down. They softened the blow for them. Think about it. The folks, the far-right GOP trying to take over Jackson, they don't even have to work as hard. They don't even have to convince us to accept something.
And their grandkids do.
Yeah. Our quote leaders, our elected officials sell us out right in front of them. You know what? I mean, I'm not gonna stop you from taking the water. But I don't like it. Oh, I don't like it. I'd rather you just rub your belly and let them do it to you. I ain't talking faint. I don't like it. Go on now.
But I didn't vote against it.
I didn't vote against it. There's a political guidebook, a political playbook. It's slipping my mind now. But some of you black folk listening, and some of you good white folk listening, y'all know what I'm talking about. There's a political playbook that says when you abstain, it's just a polite way of saying I agree on the law.
You know what that means, right? That means they want y'all to believe that. They looking at y'all. They want y'all to believe, oh, I didn't know that. I couldn't do nothing about it. So it's up to y'all to understand that they really playing. They playing y'all. They playing us. They playing y'all. Y'all, they're accountable, but they're trying to make y'all accountable for it.
They want to move past that.
Yeah, they're going to move past
They want to move past that. They want to move past that into a new sunshine of Jackson rising. But who is it rising for? Is it rising for your handlers or is it rising for your leaders? Because if it's rising for your leaders, then that will trickle down to you. If it's rising for your handlers, you're simply being handled into somebody else appreciating the benefits of Jackson. That old coat. Roll of thunder, hear my cry. Convince us this old coat wasn't worth anything. Jackson, 30, trashy. Who would want to go there? Anything that got posted. Oh, don't go there. You'll die. This will happen. It's disgusting. The whole world hates it. All of Mississippi talks about it. And as soon as the previous mayor who fought against a water takeover, fought against an airport takeover, fought against a school takeover, as soon as those type of folks were gone, Jackson became the best thing since sweet potato pie. Look downtown. You've got white folk with their children on their neck walking around. And I'm not saying that as a racial statement. I'm saying that as a realistic statement. You didn't have that before. You got two different police departments. Then we got two different, and that got handled. HB 1020, we see a big problem there. That got handled. Your now current mayor, all of your senators, again, they're trying to take over Jackson. Next day they was quiet, moved on to their next legislative piece. And I'd love to be wrong in this situation. So let me say it slowly, 601-948-5950, in case you're listening, in or outside of it. When you hear those calls flowing, to let you know folks thankfully and humbly are listening, but you don't hear contention to these things. We don't talk about what you do on the side, who your babysitter is, what you drank last night, what you ate this morning. We talk about what you made public that affects us. And these steps are completely unacceptable for those that are in leadership position to handle the black community in a place like Mississippi that has already faced so much oppression and so many obstacles to succeeding. Where you got young kids saying, I can't go to Madison because they won't let me. And when you break it down, you simply realize they've just been conditioned by your lack of leadership and by Madison and the other areas' willfulness in keeping these young black kids out of the areas. And when you jump on there and start talking about YNs and all these other things, all you do is help. They point to what you say with your silly self. You post it, I talk to, and I got family members that do it. I tell them this over the phone with your silly self. You about as silly as can be. And in 30 years, you're going to look back and say, God damn, I helped him. I called my young men YN words. And then I posted it. And then I laughed at it. And then I had the nerve, when my property value dropped because of shooting, to jump on there and say, these young people need some control. Shame on you. That's what I hope I'm efficient in doing. Bringing accountability back to the adults as it should be there. But before you dare open your mouth about a young person, you talk about what you did and why it didn't work. Because you know what's going to start to happen? You're going to start to point the blame where it should be. You see this new juvenile legislation coming across from the Senate, asking to open up the juvenile court in its entirety. Let everybody see everything that's happening in that juvenile court. Full Republican bill pushing it. And you wonder, what do you have for our children now?
Mhm.
What's next?
If they lower the age to work, they gonna lower the age to put them in jail.
You lowered the age to work, but the age was lowered. You've encouraged folks to take advantage of that lower age, one. B, you push legislation asking for the right to notify the school as soon as a young child is charged with a firearm possession, whether they're found guilty or not. I mean, you can just call and say they got a gun, playing a gun on them. You can do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter. They get to call the school and tell them. And then three, they're trying to push legislation that would mean if a child steals a pack of gum and they have a gun in their possession. Now, you may need to look up what in your possession is, because in your car is in your possession, in your book bag is in your possession, in a pouch is in your possession. If they deem that whatever bag that gun is closest to you, that's in your possession. If they steal a pack of gum while having a gun in their possession, they can automatically be charged as adults. What is the purpose of that? That's not to protect society. You mean that they get caught stealing a pack of gum and you get to keep them as an adult and make money off of their bodies and put them on these chain gangs and take taxpayer money for them. So you've gone past rehabilitating the adults. You've realized that society has accepted a $400 to $500 million contract to Vital Corps, and inmates have dropped off of beds and lost their arms. And Mississippi just shelled out another $500 million, half a billion. Let that sit. Don't let Curry and the rest of these politicians sit up here and get you into the game that they want you to play. Definitely support any legislation that'll ease up on our brothers and sisters inside. But don't let them tell you they're going to fight for $1, your $1 million, and you happy about it. Ms. Curry, finally something's being said, but the fact that it took a reporter to notice these things, for legislation to start moving, lets us know you watched this in the dark for as long as possible. You can make us lose, but we're gonna stop losing and sitting up there and clapping for you as we do.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna now y'all are arguing, and you think we part of the argument. Y'all are arguing about who gonna watch Vital Corps. That's another contract. Ching ching. Who's gonna watch Vital Corps with Mississippi taxpayer money? So we're going to give them the $400 million, even though we've got rampant syphilis running throughout the system. Folks dropping and then nothing's happening. Roach infested, rat infested, folks freezing to death. Even though we got all that, we're going to give it back to Vital Corps. Reports of no nurses on duty, reports of nurses working other jobs and dropping in to administer medicine, and then they're gone. With all of this happening, you still handed over another $400 million, but you don't want to make that the big story. You want us to talk about Representative Becky Curry, and she's going to hold the board that watches them accountable with their $400 million inside of a facility none of us can see. When them people died, they're the property of that facility. You telling us all the small parts, hoping we miss the big parts. And sometimes we got to be willing to say, forget your dollar.
All you gotta do is check campaign donations.
Check those campaign donations. That's right.
That's all you gotta do.
See where your leader stands on that. Do it before it's your child. Do it before it's your family member. Do it before you did. Well, this person's a good person. They're all good people. Circumstances can change you in ways you can't imagine.
So that let you know who endorsed them.
Yes, that lets you know what politician took money from the private prison industry or any industry that is lobbying or pushing for benefits of putting these children in jail. You have Democrats, plantation Democrats that are taking, I pointed out several times,
And
Republicans.
And Republicans.
And I'm sorry, the Republicans, they openly talk about it. You know, they call you into the stocks. You know, look at these private prisons. BlackRock is amazing. Vanguard's amazing. They'll say it publicly to your point. But you all think because you hear somebody talk about mass incarceration that they're good. Stop doing that. Man, it's time to verify. That's the only way we can stay safe as a people. And I know people are pushing all these other ways. We've got to come together. We always need to come together. But you can come together and walk off a cliff. You can come together to walk off a cliff. They just got y'all all in the same place at the same time. So coming together over the wrong thing just get you all in the same place at the same time. Now I got names of everybody that want to do something different in their community.
Yep.
Just like Goodfellas. I'm going to walk out and I'm going to take names of everybody. Now you a problem. So I think that's we really got to start looking at the difference between a leader and a handler, right? And right now, and when we look at our city council, when we look at the fact that the best we've gotten on any of these hurtful votes and ordinances that have come out of Jackson City Council, the best we've gotten is a abstain. The best we've gotten is I don't like it, guys. That's what you're worth. is an I don't like it guy. Shout out to Brother Jeremy for giving us a highlight about that Ward 3 meeting that Stokes was at and giving us your opinion on it as well. That's the type of reporting, my brother and my sisters, that's going to keep us aware of everything that's going on.
And it got to make you think. Okay, it got to make you think about the politicians and the ones that actually try to do something. How would they look if they actually did something? Like, won't they be in a situation where they got indictments over their head? I'm trying to throw some shade in there. Not shade, but you know.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. What would it look like if
what would it look like? They'll probably have indictments over their head. They'll probably be accused. Entrapment. They'll be going through COINTELPRO. There'll be somebody investigating them, making them look like they're the bad person. Like, I don't think they know what it looks like when somebody is sending them seats and them boards that's actually trying to fight for y'all. Y'all think that the people that's doing it now, you think that's the good look. They the ones really standing up. No, that's not how they look, because ain't nothing happening to them. They keep letting them do it. They keep letting them buy. If a person is actually trying to fight for y'all, it won't be easy for them, because you know how much pressure is on them. You know how much stuff going on.
Yeah.
So certain people that's going through stuff right now that actually was trying to fight for y'all. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Listen, I think, and I may I love what KP get me riled up, or I get riled, but I think that what you're saying, KP, is
valid.
real. It's valid. The previous mayor, Chokwe Anton Lumumba, through all the flaws that you may have had with him, and folks had flaws. You're always going to have a difference with someone in how they run a city, of course. First off, right, and those have to be valid. Everyone that's a resident of Osterra has had the right to say, I didn't like this move, I did like that move. I love the tiny homes. I didn't necessarily like you telling police to stop choking people to death when you first came in office. You don't like that, you don't like that. But you got the right to talk about people's policy. But to your point, everyone knows every single point there of contention the previous mayor had. The airport, the schools, the water system. Governor Tate standing in there because you won't acquiesce, saying it's a horrible day to be in Jackson. Not Mayor Lumumba's a horrible mayor. That's the way they tasked Jackson, was until you give up what we want, Lumumba, we're going to tax your whole city. Yeah. And I guarantee you nobody will love or respect you. Now, you can say what you want about what his political steps were, and I'm not stopping calling and talking.
They get blinded by that. It's like,
oh, that's shame. That's not blind. That's shame. That's just shame. Man, when you go along,
you count with anything.
Yeah, you're right. There's other things.
That's just one of the insults.
When you let the child molester in the house, and then you find out he molested, now you got that shame of knowing you let it happen. Now, if the city gets molested,
now it's on you.
Now it's on you. You know that you were like, but maybe you didn't see it then. Maybe when that man came and said, well, hey, you got kids, maybe you didn't understand it then. And that's a perfect analogy if you think that's too strong. It's not. This city is being raped, not molested in terms of its resources, just drained out of it. And you hear small business owners everywhere yelling out to us. One yelled to people I was going by, hey, make sense. And he says hello every day. Man, tell him about the small business owners, man. Shout out to the brother that I was talking to that was doing security over near the bookstore that runs a security company, a brother from Jackson, that talked the same way. Man, we're not getting any love from the small business sector. We're not getting any love at all.
It's a wrap for that.
The young black, and now when you talk about the previous man, don't shy from a young man when you got proof to back it up. Shy from it when I'm just talking about you because I don't like you. When you got a mayor that set up there and mandated that a certain amount of this business go to black people and then fought harder to make sure new opportunities were opened up.
I just talking about him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. The good things need to reference just as well as the bad ones. You understand what I'm saying? There's other mayors that stood up and got chopped in the neck for trying to stand up for the airport. This is to me, I have not seen a mayor yet come in and bow down to give away these type of resources. Which mayor is still included on the airport lawsuit? No, it's not your, is it?
I don't know.
I believe it may be. You still got mayors that are on the airport lawsuit as Mayor Horn went ahead and agreed for folks to go ahead and develop the area, the land around the airport. So I don't think that there's anybody that has agreed to do, and the similarities to Trump and Iran are glaring. The similarities to Trump and Iran are glaring.
Well, we got enough time left. We got enough time left in the show for that.
And you know, we should.
Let's go.
Because folks see that big thing. You got eight presidents that refused to attack Iran?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had one that just doesn't care. He's just looking for that payout, or whatever he's looking for. He just had no care for the cost on the United States, for the cost on the Middle East, for the cost on any of his quote partners who are dealing now with the inability to go through the Strait, the Hormuz Strait. He has no care about any of that. The same way our Mayor Horn right now has no care about how his policy decisions affect black folk from here to the Delta. Folks whose children and family members are here at JSU, at Tuvalu, those are opportunities disappearing. as we lose a grip and hold on power, as Farris Street loses the promise of being a black haven once again. All these things are happening under Mayor Horn's watch, under this city council's watch, as we lose schools to turn into private white institutions in front of our eyes. Meaning you walking by Chastain watching to get fixed up beautifully. What do you think that does to the mental of black folks in that community, or folk, period? They're saying it's good enough, and then you got another school that's got 90 days that I just talked about. They got another 60 days, Berkeley, to shut down. From the outside, it looks decent. How quick is that going to be snatched up?
It's sad.
How quick is Brinkley going to be snatched up by one of the mayor's friends or one of these folks' friends?
They said the same thing was happening to Lanier High School. They said it's not enough students or something like that. Correct?
Oh, they gonna shut down Lanier?
Yeah.
Not enough students.
Lanier?
But hold on, listen, not enough students.
Y'all can let them do that?
They're going to shut down Lanier, one of the historically.
They can't let them do that.
But this mayor does not seem to care. This mayor, and you have to understand that does not mean you are a devil. You're a bad. No. Let's just speak about the things that affect us. This current mayor does not seem to care about how these school shutdowns affect us. And that's the number. So you shut down 17 schools. As you close them, every neighborhood organization, church, parent that jumped on Facebook Live was talking about how this is going to cause so many kids not to go to school. Right? You had the Office of Safety and Violence Prevention that the previous administration launched. You had very vigorous interaction with every street intervention, every neighborhood organization. You had vigorous interaction with them, money flowing to them. You heard them come on our show and say, we met with Mayor Horn and then we've been waiting for a callback. Even though we work with the city in different ways, there's been no motivation for us to go out into these communities and connect with these young people that are not going to school. So what do we do? What does our city do? 17 schools shut down. They're clearly not going to school because they don't want to go across the city or go to school with people that they're not friendly with, or for any other reasons. So let's put them to work. Now you look at the communities surrounding us, Madison, Ridgeland, Pearl, Flowood. Let's talk a little bit about that. What did they do when they decided that Negro children were just too dirty and too unintelligent for their children to go to school with? I'm not giving them any props with this, but let's look at what the action has done with the difference of leadership and handling. They led their folks into a private school institution setup, so they didn't have to go to school with our children. Now, what do our leaders do when 17 schools shut down? Beg the white folks to put them to work. And I'm going to say it how it is. And 601-948-5950. I expect you. That's what we did. Accelerate Mississippi. That's who's going to. You see that when they're outside of the areas, they're talking about
accelerate backwards and forward. Which one?
Accelerate the state forward, accelerate the black community backwards. That's a very good point. And you need that handle in the middle to convince you that this is the right way to go. You see them talking to you every day. I saw Vernon Hartley just excited about the development. With no discussion, we got to talk about that in the meeting, with no discussion about who's benefiting from all of this development. Boy, I can show you 1,000 pretty cars. You're going to be taking the bus. But I can show you 1,000 pretty cars. Now, let me show you that station right there. Go and take that left. That's how you're going to get to work every day. That's after you agree everything's going well. Because you see 1,000 pretty cars driving around Jackson, but none of them are stopping to pick you up.
Not acknowledge you or none.
When you want people to accept their fate without pushing back, you send a leader, one of their own kind, to suffer peacefully.
A handler.
A handler.
And your money is the reason them cars is out there. That's your tax dollars.
That's right.
You ain't getting none of it.
First of all, it's probably Ridgeland, Flowood, all that. That's your tax dollars too.
We all know that. We all know that. And look at the way that these cities are aggressively stepping it up. I was talking to a brother in the community. I was talking to a few folks in the community in a circle that started talking about how not just well, they were talking specifically about how Ridgeland police actually tried to go on the Jackson side and pull people over. And it was over 3 people that said they watched it happen regularly when they're at stores on there, and they had never seen that happen until Capitol Police came. Where Ridgeland will try, and the point that they were making was that that's Jackson jurisdiction. So if you don't have jurisdictional, it's called cross commission. The brother let me know. It's called being cross commissioned. If you're not cross commissioned, you're not supposed to jump from Pearl into Flowood and just start pulling people over. So you have folks witnessing Ridgeland sitting somewhere on the Jackson side and then pulling out and pulling someone over. No, of course, if you see a crime in movement, but if you're sitting there running people's tags on Jackson's side, that you need to be cross-commissioned from what I understand. in my limited knowledge, to do something of that nature. But they also were talking about in that circle, and I was hearing our DJ right before he came on started talking about do something for the homelessness. This circle started talking about how they witnessing folks in the past and still sometimes now dropping homeless members of the homeless community off in Jackson. And I hadn't heard that in a while, so but this brother was direct. He was like, you know that show right on Lakeland? Right over there behind where the museums and everything is, he said they get dropped off right there by a church. And he said that the shelterless people telling him that the church doesn't even pay them. They have them work and then they just drop them off after that and say, you can come back here at night and sleep. So they drop them off the Panhandle in Jackson during the day is what it sounded like to me. And then they pick them up to go sleep at night.
It's a whole sub economy right there.
And that's coming from outside of Jackson. Listen, when you have a handler that their job is to continuously pull your attention away from that, which one of your political leaders have you heard talk about this directly? That's a handler. And I know some have, but if you haven't heard it, that's a handler. You hear people talking about throwing rocks at cop cars, but there's legitimately unconstitutional behavior happening that folks are not going to, and they're lawyers. That's what you have to understand. You have an extremely smart city, Jackson. Don't believe that, good old boy.
That's right.
You have an extremely smart city council.
Educators.
Realtors and lawyers and educators. You have a mayor that has known politics in Mississippi for 30 years when it wasn't easy for a black person to be a politician. First black mayors in these groups. And you think they're getting surprised 10, 20, 30 years in by what they're doing to us? No, sir. But at that point, you have to understand that they're benefiting from it.
You've been begging to be a coon that long, 30 years, bro. You been a coon that long, bro.
But remember the slave, right? Remember the one that signed the Mississippi Constitution, right? And yes, I know what you're saying, young man, right? Isaiah T. Montgomery. We're not going to let that name go. Remember that when you make a slave, a former enslaved person, a store owner within 24 hours, it does something to them. If they're not a good person, they're not. You just got to remember that. That doesn't excuse anybody. But we got to remember here in Mississippi where those roots lead back to. And and if you didn't know very quickly, Isaiah Montgomery was the lone or only black member of the Constitution, meaning one of the black, they basically got a black Constitution person, took him out of slavery, made him a politician, right? And then had him sign the Mississippi Constitution, and then put that across the United States to say, well, how could this be a racial constitution? And you know about the Mississippi plan when slavery ended. You know when racial was barbaric. But they had a black man standing there signing it to say, well, if it was barbaric and racial, then why would this black man sign it? That black man probably would have been hung from a tree or cut open wide or gutted if he had said no, potentially. I'm not going to speak about somebody where there was no protection. But I know we did our little walkthrough yesterday. I know not one senator right now representing Mississippi or mayor is risking getting gutted open for standing up for us and doing more than abstaining.
And that's
You were not going to get lynched for abstaining. You were not going to get lynched for telling Mr. Hennepin, please don't speak about this entire city in that way. Please don't say that my city or my people have a culture of not paying bills after you've done so much to drain the city of every resource it has. That's leadership.
Go back and watch the video. He got his head down the whole time.
The whole time. Because he knew that whipping was coming.
Come on, Joe.
And at that point, I feel like you knew it was coming and you're letting us take the hit so you could take the big up. That's the beauty of you being in an area where you can talk openly about what happened. That's your politician sitting in that room. Go look at our page, Make It Make Sense, JXN. And stay on that page because we put the things out there that they try to cut. When they showed you that city council view, they didn't let you see the audience or any reactions at all. Muted it, made it real low, so you had no clue that that community was in strong there in the back. It was disgusted when those words were said. But one view, one assumption, one outcome. That's the point of being handled. I handle you by telling WLBT, working with WAPT, making sure that when they come across that news is news and only favors certain folks. I'm handling you. And that's what's happening here in Jackson, Mississippi. And I think that folks, I was talking about the TikTok personality that was breaking it down. I think the young lady at Natalie's Take has given perhaps the most honest open, and she doesn't live in Jackson. She made a point to say, I chose to hold back chiming in because I no longer was a resident of Jackson, but she talks about the way it's being incorporated and taken over through legislation. And I think that's courage to speak out about that, and I think that she'll experience her voice being pushed down further and further. But there's a further point we need to start taking those conversations. But big up to that sister for doing it. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, like since Leon there.
Hey,
How you doing?
man, I appreciate everything y'all doing. I moved to Jackson in 1983, and it was such a vibrant city. But everything that's going on right now makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
How sick does it make you?
You know, I mean, we had so many sellouts. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And each black mayor that we had was sellout.
Mm.
I can't say it, you know, my explanation of that is that every one of them had an agenda
That's right. Absolutely.
to make money, and this one right here, I'm so disappointed.
Now, tell me more about that disappointment, my brother. What did you expect from Mayor Horn? Tell us what you kind of expected as someone that's known this city.
Well, he had a show on that very radio station right there.
Yes, he did.
Talk to Young,
Can't talk to him no more.
Can't talk to him no more.
but no,
He left.
and he just got a turncoat. And it makes me sick, man, that
He's serious.
they're trying to take us back in every aspect. You know, them closing Brinkley and Powell,
Yes.
those are great schools.
Yes, sir.
They closed all the schools around here, and I don't blame the young folks for not wanting to go because, you know, they was comfortable there.
That's right.
Had good teachers. And this thing about, you know, them not wanting to pay the teachers, but they turned that around, thank God. You know, these teachers need to be paid.
They do.
They coming out of their pocket
They do.
in
Absolutely.
a lot of ways.
I mean, when they solved that for Jackson by shutting down 17 schools. So how many teachers of that? They don't even have to worry about it anymore. So for our young people, they didn't even attempt to give them underpaid teachers. That's the drastic nature here. And remind you, the disappointment you speak about Mayor Horn, and I appreciate you, brother, because you're in that range that can hold him accountable. You have valid people that witnessed the previous administration ask him for help as the state tried to take over the school system over and over. And we were left hanging. You've had this mayor has consistently, and I don't say this to talk about him. I say this for us to wake up because we've got three plus years left of this. So yeah, I appreciate that, my brother, because you make a good point there.
Whether it make sense to call Leon there.
Good evening, young man. I want to comment basically. It's about the school system and school shutting down.
Yes, sir.
Sooner or later, we're gonna run out of kids to keep those schools open anyway. Because our young black women had stopped having babies last two now.
Mm.
And they had the white women that stopped making babies because they
Well, I'm gonna challenge you there, my brother. And you are brother, so I appreciate you always. But now I don't think so. The communities we move in, they didn't stop having babies. Now you may be talking about professionals, and let's keep it accurate. You're talking about a sector of black communities because too often the West, the sub two, the rebel, too often certain parts of our community get left out the discussion because the babies didn't slow down in certain places in our black community, right?
Right. Okay, we want to do one big working for the 14-year-old.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what?
Yes, sir.
My point is that we had a group of people here, Mexicans, we got immigrants that had tried to come here and live a normal life like everybody else.
That's true
And
too.
so those 16-year-old kids, Mexican kids, would have been in charge of having the job, and Gabe would be a DJ girl, JC Phillips, working, after school, trying to provide for themselves and look what not they need to go be average teenagers. I bet you I bought a house over in the Clinton Boulevard that I paid $40,000 for a house that wasn't worth $40,000 when when the brand new, but like I say, they sold to me, and there was no equity left in our. My intention was that those Mexicans could come to this state, and I did offset $40,000 to that Mexican, they're most likely to be on liquor food. I was also planning on working till I was 80 years old, because they gonna move the Mexicans in here, and they're gonna be under me, and I'm gonna be able to supervise them. And let the white folks go, but the white folks got smart, they want to see them work till they're 100 years old, and then move me out, move us, and move my generation out. Because we
He
could
tell you how folks
we
think.
could be supervised. Now we got to go out on disabilities and all this old crap that they want to throw us out. They want to call us lazy shifts that don't want to work. But the same shit,
Sure.
they still want to run things when the real their job to be supervised, to operate and run the Mexicans. Now the Mexicans.
Now, I was spinning for a minute there, my brother, but I'm with you there. No, I'm with you 100%.
They threw the Mexicans out. Now they want to put a 14-year-old kid out to work.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
He's seen it before. He's seen it again. Yep. He's seen it.
No, keep going, brother. I was going to ask you to speak to that right there.
We could get into the Epstein thing that they so good about.
Listen, let me tell you this, my brother. I wish we had a lot more time, but I was just going to ask you that, and you just did it for us. You talked about the fact that when ICE immigration comes in, does their removal stat, it's just very ironic that at the same time, you have a black mayor and a black city council begging businesses to hire our 14-year-olds that should be playing a sport, doing an after-school club, operating in student government, doing something to develop their brain, which is not fully developed yet, not running out there and working for you when another adult that needs that job could be right there doing
There
it.
you go.
And then 14-year-olds can't drive a car. They can't get driver's license until they're 16. And so therefore, they got to get somebody to take them back and forth to work. And they don't have the mindset to understand what the word no means.
That's right.
Yes means.
That's
so
right.
therefore, they got to mind that put them in a position where they claim to take advantage of these people.
You're speaking, brother.
I don't have no 14-year-old, but let me see. I understand the rest of the 14-year-old.
And look, that right
Appreciate
there is the only, and thank you so much, my brother. That was eloquent, and you gave it to us the way we needed to have it. And like this brother's doing, standing up looks like, and you don't have to like this, we land this plane. Standing up looks like letting your community know, your cousins in different states know, if you're not getting any help here, that our black leadership is making these moves. We never want to dismember and divide ourselves. Sometimes you have to apply pressure from within. I'm not asking you to go without and apply pressure. You at these HBCU functions, you at these soirees and these cotillions, when you find factual information that tells you that somebody is supposed to be doing right by your people is not doing right and instead is handling them, telling them to accept something, you know how many Mississippians know that water authority deal was garbage? You know how many are around these politicians and know it was garbage, and instead of saying, how are you? Yeah, you doing it to them. This is no longer the fault of one person. In order to pull this type of heist called Steele Jackson over, it takes a lot of people turning a blind eye.
Take one of them youngers out the street and tell them what happened to the water. I bet they would say something.
They'll do more than you would do. That's the crazy part. The ones you call cowards would do more than you would do if they found out. They'll at least go in there and use some chaotic violence to stop.
They thought about baby brother. They thought about all them people. And you coward, you sit up there all them years, and you finna be.
If you're living in the state of Mississippi, if you are a journalist in the state of Mississippi, if you are an HBCU leader, a teacher, professor, and you are not speaking up, you are an accessory to a crime. If you are a parent, if you are anyone of means of African American descent or Caucasian descent, Chinese Americans, I don't care what descent you are. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I don't care if I'm in the mountains of West Virginia, if I'm in the middle of Mississippi. If I see children being desolated, abused, and their rights being taken away, their teeth rotted, no good dental care, I don't care what them kids look like. I'm going to stand for them either way. This just happens to be what I'm from and where I'm supposed to be and where my ancestors died. So please understand that this new term, this corner, is going to take all of us. If you see something, say something. And the plan will unfold itself. Now, when you got a meeting tonight, right? You got a meeting tonight in, Ward 5? You just heard it. It was just advertised yesterday. So the first thing is, be very careful when you see a meeting that's supposed to be with your Mayor Horn and your Councilman Vernon Hartley, Ward 5's councilman. The meeting is supposed to be tonight. And the first thing you have to do is be very aware when you hear about a meeting the day before it takes place.
This is tonight. Check the date.
March 19th.
It's tomorrow night. Absolutely. It's tomorrow night. It's March 19th, 6 p.m. at Mount Nebo Missionary Baptist Church, 1245 Tunica Street, Jackson, Mississippi, 39209. It's going to be Mayor Horn along with Councilman Vernon Hartley. And here is where you need to make sure that when they're talking to you about infrastructure and street repairs, neighborhood revitalization, what's happening with the businesses, you need to ask the questions that demand an answer. Who is the neighborhood being revitalized for? Ward 5, you're up. We've been doing this for about a year now. Y'all rock with us. Y'all have pushed us to heights we never thought we'd see just sharing truthful information. We love you for that. But Ward 5, you were up. Ward 3, Jeremy and I'm over in Ward 3 giving them hell. Ward 5, you are up. This meeting's tomorrow. Don't let that meeting happen. And he gets asked a question about what type of coffee he likes, and he gets to get off that stage and go home. He got the courage to come out there in front of you now. Where's your courage at? And I know your courage is high. You ask the questions about who everything they tell you is happening, say who is it happening for, and make them outline how it's going to help West Jackson and South Jackson. Them days of letting folks handle you got to come to an end. And that's why we intentionally make sure we don't bring any garbage into our show. And you hear garbage all day long. But you come to a consummate professional that respects you as much as I want you to respect this cause. So I don't bring you gossip. We don't talk about people. You're only responsible for the decisions you made that affect us. I don't need to get into rumors and rumorville and petty little things. I want to talk about things that can tell I'm working with the people I'm talking about helping. Those realities. I'm not just going to come in here and attack you because you're there to be attacked. And I called that about Benny. As many problems I may have with the way things are being run, I have the same problem with someone coming on there just attacking them, and that's your whole platform. You got to realize something, 2026. Yesterday's price ain't today's price. And that's the city of Jackson saying that. That's not Tarek Abdul-Tawwab. And you keep making mistakes and thinking I'm saying it. I'm just a platform for the people. Then you get rolled up by the people and you're surprised at it. I'm just carrying a humble message on a good day. And as we land this plane, next week we got some new news for you because we're going to be coming to you more than 3 days a week. The people have spoken onto what you want to hear. Those morning drives in, those other areas that we're not putting enough work to bring ourselves to you, we're going to be there for you 24/7, Jackson. We promise you that. We're going to make the moves to make sure this voice is heard and that it never gets shut down because the people are too powerful for their voice to be taken away. So until next time, for my esteemed co-hosts, the now older
28, Keanu Perry.
and myself, Tarek Abdul-Tawwab, shout out Mr. Wilson. Continue to make it make sense, Jackson. We love you. Jump online, make it make sense, Jackson, JXN. We got some things to talk about right after the show. We love you, Jackson. Take care.
My mama love. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.